So what motivated me to apply for this position? So I served on city council for 8 years, and one of my motivating, what motivated me to run for that position is wanting to really improve the overall economy, not just the employment, like how people were employed, but that we were increasing wages. And I also was very concerned about neighborhoods, particularly older parts of town, older neighborhoods, wanting to get more investment in those older neighborhoods, and to really improve and stabilize those neighborhoods. And one of the things that I recognized as a city council member is there's really very kind of limited ability to impact the economy, and that really, if you want to significantly change the economy over time, we have to do much more in the classroom to impact that. So there's a direct correlation between levels of education and economic output in a community, and so if we can change the equation in our community where more and more of our people in the workforce are educated, they have a associate's degree, a bachelor's degree, a master's, a bachelor's, or they have some kind of certification, industry certification, the more likely our economy is to improve. So that was one area where I realized, like, really, if you want to change the economy, where it's at is on the school board. And then the second, in terms of neighborhoods, is that, as you know, one of the things that really is critical to a stable, strong neighborhood is a really strong neighborhood school. And so I felt like I could do a lot more to stabilize some of the older parts of town that I represent. In central, around Austin High School, if we improved those neighborhood schools.
It was very, very simple. I retired from teaching. My wife said, get out of the house. I don't want you around every day, all day. So what I did is I started substitute teaching. I substituted at schools where I taught, so I knew all the teachers. And this is when we were going through the situation with Dr. Garcia, the scandal that was occurring in the school district, and all of my friends and other teachers would come up and say, help, please help. We trust you. We know you have the time because you're retired. And I went home one day and I asked my wife, I said, what do you think? She said, go for it. So I did. And the funny thing is, I didn't know how. Well, how do you enter politics? How do you get started? What do you do? And I couldn't get anyone to tell me. So I saw a little news thing on TV about the school district, and the interim superintendent at the time was a friend of mine. So I gave him a call and I said, Vern, how do you do this? He says, well, there's a lady in my office. Come and see her. And that's how I got started. I filled out a form, I submitted it, and I won. And then I said, oh my gosh, now I've got to do it. And I didn't really have any idea what I was getting in for. But we got a lot of training. And we learned, and I've learned, and there's no substitute for experience. So that's how I got into it and why I did it. I wanted to help. The morale in the schools was so low, It was hard to watch. The people I had worked with for so many years just walk around with their head down because of the stigma that was attached. And I believe deep in my heart that we've really, really done a good job to turn that around. I don't believe that's the feeling anymore. And I get angry sometimes with people who want to go back and relive all of that. And I said, please, please forget about that. Look at our record. Look what we've done, not what they did. And see where we're going and see what we're doing. And you can criticize that all you want, but that's where I'm coming from.
I feel a great need to help out our community. If you're looking for a red carpet position, this is not the position. I always tell people that this is not a red carpet position. This is a position You actually have to roll up your sleeves and do something and help set policy, ensure our other main responsibility is ensure that the superintendent is doing his job. We have 9,000 employees in the district. It's impossible for the trustees, and it's not our role to manage the 9,000 employees. It's our responsibility to manage and oversee the superintendent, and his responsibility with his leadership team is to oversee the 9,000 employees. What I tell people is there's a great responsibility in this role. What motivated me to do this, I think I shared with that yesterday. There was definitely a need. I was particularly frustrated with the past news or the past history of our school district board, where they were because of the cheating scandal and the lack of oversight. So I was quite frustrated. So I think that motivated me to run, but also my engagement in the community and my own children in the school district and my friends' children and you guys. That's what motivates me to give my time.
I don't necessarily see it as a sacrifice of time. I mean, I think if you're committed, once you're committed, you go with that commitment. And what better example to show our children that if you've made a commitment to something, you commit to it fully. You don't sit there and say, well, I have a time restriction. Well, I have such and such restriction. You're committed, period. I have a great support system at home with my family. My husband works full-time, so that allows me, I guess, for lack of a better word, the luxury of being able to stay at home and take care of my children. And in that manner, I'm able to volunteer my time and my resources, as I said again, through PTA. And I understand the time quantity that needs to be dedicated to that. And I am more than willing to be flexible, more than willing to be visible, more than willing to be accessible to this area for whatever concerns they may have, and again, to the board for whatever might pop up that we need to address.
That's a fantastic question, and I've had this discussion with my wife several times since I filed the paperwork to apply for this position. Look, I grew up in a huge family. There was 8 children in my family. My mother didn't work outside the home back in those days, and my father loaded trucks for a living growing up. I didn't have a lot of advantages growing up. When I was my oldest son's age, I shared a bedroom with 4 of my siblings. So I decided when I was a kid that I wanted something more from my life. And I worked really hard in school. I attended a public school in rural Minnesota. I got my bachelor's degree and I got my master's degree at UTEP, and I was very proud of that. And now I'm a successful business owner. And I never, when I was a kid, I never saw myself in these types of situations. But the reason I tell you that is all that has come to me because of public education. Public education is an amazing thing in this country. The first settlers in this country, one of the very first things they did when they got here was they set up public education. So public education has opened up doors for me that I could have never imagined when I was a kid. So I want to make sure that my children have all the advantages that I was afforded growing up, and I want to make sure that all of the other children of El Paso are also afforded the same opportunities that I was fortunate enough to be given.
Well, I think the biggest motivation is the amount of money that I'm going to make. That was a joke. I think the biggest thing was that I was on the school board early on, and it was an extremely valuable learning experience for me. I got to learn from some of the best, and I got to tell you, some of the best, both good and bad. One of my former board members is serving time in prison. So it was an interesting time, but we had 3 board members that I think were extremely good at what they did as far as representing their districts and representing EPISD. So I have been off the board for a number of years now. My career is at a point where I'm comfortable. I've got directors at my different daycare centers, and I feel like that now is the time when I've got time. I've got 3 of my kids gone. I've still got a couple kids in school, and I've got the time now to be able to get off and put in that time and effort that it takes to make the decisions that need to be made at this level.